Welcome to Elite Expert Insider Podcast, where we will inspire, motivate, and educate entrepreneurs, innovators, and growth seekers. Brought to you by Elite Online Publishing, making the best and brightest in the industry #1 best-selling authors. 80% of people say they want to write a book. We're assuming that's the same for you. If so, contact us at www.eliteonlinepublishing.com and make your book a reality. Hey, Melanie Johnson here along with Jen Foster. How you doing, Jen?
Doing great. It's a beautiful day.
All right, well, we've got another great show for you today. We are going to get you organized and decluttered. And I agree with this, our guest, Julie Coraccio, so much about decluttering your life. You have to declutter, organize, and guess what? When you do that, you open up all these different opportunities. I always say when something's going wrong in my life, I have to clean out my garage. And I swear every time I clean out my garage, new things, great things happen in my life. So we're going to talk about some great strategies because it's not just about your garage, it's about your mind, body, and soul as well. So, but before we get there, I want to remind you to subscribe to our podcast because we are always out there to make your life better. And if you don't know what's going on, we can't make your life better if you're not in tune. So subscribe to us, hit that subscribe button right now, push, subscribe to us and leave us a message. We would love to hear from you as well. And all right, I'm super excited. Real quick, I got to tell you, this is our new Elite Daily Planner. All right, we've worked so hard on this. This is like a combination of all the people that we've studied with, and it is the planner to take your life to the next level, along with decluttering your life that we're going to teach you today. So it's launching, and we want you to pick up one. We've got a student planner and a daily planner. It helps you with your goals, and it's going to make you more organized, and it's going to make you more productive and make you more successful that way. So let's get down to business. Julie, thanks for coming today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So start us off, Julie, with telling our listeners a little bit about yourself and where you came from and how you got to be where you are today.
Well, I'm currently based in Raleigh, North Carolina, although I work with people all over the world. I'm an award-winning professional life organizer, and that's a very important distinction. I help you organize your life. And I'm also very passionate about supporting people and clearing clutter in all areas of their life. As Melanie mentioned at the beginning, it's not just a physical clutter. We can have mental, emotional, spiritual, clutter in our relationships and health. And I'm also passionate about supporting people and becoming more mindful and aware in our life. These ladies help you publish a book. If you want to be the next great American author, you have to be aware of that and then take action in order to make it happen.
That is so true. I'm sorry, I'm going to promote my planner again, but that's exactly what we say. Set those goals, and then what are the actions to get you there? What are some of the top things that you see when you start to declutter someone's life? Walk us through that process, Julie, of you've got a client, and where do you start with them?
Well, it really is individual. And one of the things that I think people get hung up on is they read the most popular book, and they think that, well, if they did it that way, that's how I'll do it. Doesn't necessarily work for everyone. And so say if we're working on physical decluttering, we'll say, where do you want to start? So if you aren't paying your bills and are having late fees, then I'm going to say, hey, we need to get in the office to clear some clutter and get you organized so you're paying your bills on time. Or a client might say, you know what, I really need to find peace in my bedroom. Let's start there, or my closet's a mess. So usually the client has a good idea of where they'd like to start. Mm-hmm. And then once that process begins, we get down to the fun stuff of actually decluttering. And what I love about my job is, as I've mentioned, it's not just a physical. So as you're clearing out your closet, you might say, oh, nothing will come up. It absolutely does come up. Maybe you're holding on to a sweater from a past relationship that ended 20 years ago. Well, you're married now. Why can't we let go of that sweater? So that involves some asking and questioning. And I believe we all have the answers within. And my job is simply to support people in bringing those answers to the surface. So it's figuring out, well, is my office a mess because I'm afraid of success? I have all these ideas and I haven't written the book yet because I'm afraid. Or what happens if I fail and I'm not the Amazon bestseller? And to that, I'd say, did you support one person? Did you make a difference in someone's life? Did you change their life? Well, gosh, you've accomplished a lot right there.
Yeah, I think a lot of times that we don't think about the progress and the successes that we've hit because we don't hit the big success. But you got to think about all those things that led you to where you are, which is a success.
Absolutely. And so what I encourage people to do is to be like an archaeologist. Discover things and don't come from a place of judgment. Come from a place where you're observing, because if we judge ourselves and we go down that rabbit hole, oh, I should have done this, why, blah, 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 blah. And then that takes us away from becoming aware and then being able to take action to change our lives. So challenge yourself. Why have I held on to this? What am I afraid of losing? What's this really about? And once you discover that, you can usually let it go. I had a client, this is one of my favorite client stories, and it's from when I first started my business. She had a stack of papers about 2 to 3 feet tall. I said, okay, what's going on here? Oh, those are articles and clippings I'm sending to family and friends. Okay, how long have we had those? Oh, 2 to 3 years. So as we talked, she was able to articulate, I'm afraid if I don't keep in touch with my family and friends by sending them articles, they won't love me. As soon as she said that, she was able to realize that's false. That's not true. And we recycled the whole pile. So usually there's something going on behind the clutter.
Yeah, so it's almost like a therapeutic thing in a way. You know, you're going into the emotions that you're attached to things of why you still have them there. I know there's people that they feel comfort in having those things around for whatever reason.
Absolutely. Say if you grew up in a place that was chaotic, that's going to be normal to you. Someone else from the outside is going to be like, that's nuts, but that's your normal. I had a friend before I ever started doing this professionally, one of my dearest friends in Los Angeles. And she said, you know, you're uptight, come help me declutter and get organized. So she had this entire wall in her living room, clutter, clutter, clutter. None of the rest of the living room was clutter. And I said, let's talk about this. Well, what I discovered was she had a crazy neighbor on the other side who just was like, she would come home at night, she worked a swing shift, and he'd be like, you can't have your light on, it shines in my bedroom, and just nutso. And she had been putting up a physical barrier to this neighbor and wasn't even aware of it. It was like she was trying to shut him out. And I said, okay, what actions can we take? Let's talk to your landlord. You know, has it escalated? We need to get someone, maybe a community police officer. And so as soon as she had that aha moment, she was able to take action and then clear the clutter.
So when you're getting started out, how do you even address that? It's almost like you say, to me, you're taking it to another level. Like I say, I clean out my garage, but then I got to say, well, why does my garage keep getting cluttered? It's like finding out the reason why you're letting an area still get through. How do you walk yourself through that process to find those areas and to find the questions?
That is a great question. Well, I would begin, like I said earlier, be an archaeologist. Well, what's going on here? Why is my garage a dumping ground? Why does it always seem to get cluttered all the time? But say my bedroom doesn't have any clutter at all. What's going on here? And then continually asking yourself questions. Well, my garage, well, do you want to answer that? And maybe we could do a little, I don't know if that's too personal, but it's having a dialogue with yourself and asking more questions and going deeper and figuring out, well, what's it really about? Well, I keep clutter in my garage because I'm afraid that if I give it away, it'll never come back to me. Well, let's talk about that. Can you trust that you will get what you need when you need it? Is that fear from childhood? Did you have something taken away from you in childhood without your permission? And so that was really traumatizing. So in this area of your life, you're trying to make up for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Getting deeper.
Yeah. I think that's the key to everything in life, truly.
Yeah, well, and I think just the organization in general, you know, a lot of people, they say, oh, I don't have time. So I'll just throw it in the garage or I'll throw it over here, you know, and then it does get really messy and cluttery and they just get used to it. And they don't, like you said, you don't think about it. And that clutter starts to crowd you. And then, you know, so you do almost have to make that big life change to declutter and get that stuff out of the room. That also is decluttering your mind and the other things that are going on in your life.
Now, I'm going to challenge you on something you said, because you said don't have time. And so many people use that as an excuse. And I want to be really clear here. That is an excuse. How much time did you spend on social media? How much time do you spend playing video games? How much time do you spend just laying around on the couch? If you choose to do it, you will find the time. And I think that's really important for people to remember. And, you know, if you're at the point where it's been years, then it's time to get support. And there's no shame in that. You know, we were talking before the interview and I said, I know I don't have the skill. I'm going to hire someone. It doesn't make sense, especially if it's been going on for years. Have a leap of faith and find someone to support you.
Yeah. Now, how does it change? So I see how you're talking about the getting into the emotional part of it, the reason why, but is there a separate decluttering of your brain and your emotions? Like, yeah, I got my house in order, but I really feel like my head is messy. You know, do you work on just that part and the emotional part of doing it, decluttering your
Absolutely.
brain?
Absolutely. I think here, I should say, first of all, I believe when we work on the inner, it affects the outer and vice versa. As
Mhm.
you're clearing your physical clutter, it's going to help bring clarity. If you are fighting with your spouse or your roommates because you are the clutter bug, as soon as you start to clear that clutter, your relationship clutter is going to get better. But I believe that our inner world is so important to take care of. And so, for an example of emotional clutter that might not come up, it might, depending on the person, but jealousy. How much time I'm jealous, that book's awful. Well, maybe it's because you really want to write a book and are jealous. So that's what that's about, is saying, okay, why am I jealous? Well, what action do I need to take so I'm not jealous? And I'm not saying don't feel or express the emotions, because that is so important. Feel jealous, get angry, cry, do what you need to do. Remember, emotions are energy in motion. So just get that energy up and moving. But where a lot of people get hung up and stuck is they stay there. So I'm just going to berate someone else. I'm going to be jealous and I'm going to stay stuck in my life. So you need to work on that. How can you move through that? Or another example, for example, spiritual clutter would be comparing. Why do we spend all our time comparing ourselves? We are unique individuals. So instead of spinning your wheels and, well, I'm not this, I'm not that, well, what are you? What are the good things about you? What can you highlight? What are your passions? How do you bring those out in the world? And so tackling those questions, because it's about having a great life. It's about having a quality life. And what I like to say is when we clear our clutter, we can share our gifts with the world. And I believe now more than ever, we need everyone sharing their gifts. What a different world we'd live in if everyone was following their passion and sharing their gifts.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what you're seeing the response. So you declutter people's lives and you're getting them in this better page. What is some of the results that your clients are saying afterwards, how they're feeling and things that are happening to them maybe afterwards?
Some of my favorite things are when relationships are healed. Like I had a client, every time her mother-in-law walked into her house, she criticized her. And that completely affected their relationship. When she cleared her clutter and got organized, her mother-in-law didn't complain anymore. And so they were able to have a better relationships. I've also seen that in relationship and married couples, that they aren't fighting anymore because they can enjoy a nice dinner instead of having clutter on the dining room table. I also work with entrepreneurs like myself, small business owners, when they clear their clutter, because remember, clutter is stuck stagnant energy. So when you clear all the way, that allows you to bring in more clients. How exciting that, what are you saying to the universe, God, whatever your preferred word is? If you have so much junk, how are you going to bring in more clients? Because to me, you're saying you have enough. Well, I have all this clutter. I have enough. I don't need anymore. So when we clear that, we can bring in other opportunities to create the life we desire.
So true. You know, another thing I'm thinking of off the top of my head, sorry, Jen, is that with our kids, when we talk about the time, after my kids, you have to clean this up, you have to clean this up, and they put me off and put me off. They're going to do it one way or another, but in the meantime, they have the nagging that comes on from the parent to still do it. Another hour goes by, it's not done. I need you to, Mom, just leave me alone, mama. But like if they would have done it just when you asked them to, none of the nagging would happen. So the relationship would be better, between the parent and child if it just gets done. And same, when the child asks you to do something, if you put it off and put it off, they're still like, Mom, did you do this for me? Same thing. It's that you're going to do it eventually. And, I have another catch-all room that I'm always throwing stuff in. And it's like, if I would just take the time to put it away right then, instead of then all of a sudden I have a big project and it becomes a bigger boulder weighing on your head that now I got to clean up that whole darn room. Like if you just would have done something with each thing at each time and taken those extra minute or 2 minutes, it would have made it so much simpler. And so that is something I know I have to work on, not to let that become a big ball of a room that I have to attack.
Yeah.
I agree 100% with what you said. And I would also add, I am a big believer of starting kids off young. Purge after the holidays and birthdays when they've gotten new items. Start building those muscles when they're young, because I work with people who didn't have those skills taught to them as children and they're suffering as adults.
Yeah.
So you can do things that are age appropriate. And I've also found truly with kids, it really is individual, because I've seen an 8-year-old who's like, yeah, let it go, and a teenager who's struggling, but that was based on the personalities. But get your kids, start them decluttering and organizing at a young age.
Yeah, I really do like the spring and fall, going through closets. I mean, it helps when your kids are growing, because you're like, oh, these don't fit you. What else doesn't fit you? Let's go through it. But when they stay the same for a couple years, and their closet starts to get really full, or you get hand-me-downs, and then you don't you collect, but you don't get rid of. So then it starts getting like so much stuff. And you really do have to go through that again and say, have I worn this? Or asking your kids, have you worn this in the last 6 months or 5 months or 4 months? Are you going to wear it again? And getting rid of it. And I think that for me, it helps to do that with my kids, because then I'm like, I should do that with my closet, because you don't do that very often in your own closet, which is the same kind of thing, put the warm clothes away, get out the summer clothes, and did you wear this last summer at all? No? Okay, then it goes, So.
I think that's great. And what I encourage people to do, and some people here, they're like, oh my gosh, that's too much. But the first, especially if you haven't done this in a while, because I bet you both know someone who hasn't decluttered or been in a home 30, 40, 50 years worth of stuff. So I encourage people to go through everything they own annually. And once you do the major purge of that, it's a piece of cake after that. It truly is, because you can go through a room and do it half an hour, 15 minutes, once you've done the initial big purge.
Yeah.
That can take as long.
Yeah. I think one of the things for me that I struggle with is, I grew up very frugal and saving. And so little things that you're like, oh, well, I'll use this, recycling birthday bags, or recycling, different things like that, bows and wrapping paper, or like lately, with all the books that we do, we get all these proofs. And so I'm getting Amazon packages all the time. So I get those big bubble envelopes from Amazon. And I was noticing the other day where I've been putting them that it's like overflowing. So it's like, okay, I don't think I need to save those anymore. I have enough. If I'm going to ship something, I'm going to have plenty. So I can start throwing those away, but it's hard for me to throw them away, because I'm like, oh, I could use this next time I ship something, but it's like, oh, wait, I already have 10 of them. I don't need more than 10. Right?
I grew up like you, and my mother, who is not green, reused ribbons. That's the one thing that she was crazy about. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's got a ton of ribbon. So one, set a limit. And then two, I'm green. I don't like to throw away stuff. So I would say to you, where is there a charity you can donate that to, or school? What are your options?
Yeah, good idea. Well, it's been great having you, Julie. We really appreciate all the tips and tricks that you've offered.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. Well, tell us where we can find you and someone can get in touch with you for your services.
If they go to reawakenyourbrilliance.com, you can find out more about me, my services, and how to connect. We've got some Facebook masterminds going on. And if you sign up for my newsletter, you can get 10 free tips for clearing clutter inside and out.
Awesome. Those sound great. Well, we'll put the link up at the bottom of this video. And for those of you who are listening, it's reawakenyourbrilliance.com.
Thank you.
Terrific. Well, thanks for stopping by, everyone. Remember to subscribe to our podcast and leave us a message. And remember to look up the Elite Daily Planner, the Elite Student Planner. They are going to just rock your world. And if you're looking to publish a book, please look us up at eliteonlinepublishing.com. We've published over 50 authors, and every single one has been a #1 bestseller on Amazon. So we'll see you next time here on our podcast, Elite Expert Insider. Take care.
Bye.
If you'd like to create the most powerful advertising tool for your business, contact us at eliteonlinepublishing.com, where we will help you create, publish, and make your book a #1 bestseller, and show you how to get new leads and more revenue for your business. If you'd like to check us out on our Facebook page, we have a free book for you as our gift. Just go and click Free Book. Remember to subscribe and leave a comment for our podcast. We would love to hear from you.